of the Fairfield Street property if you can negotiate a price, but it would be a really sweet time if we could coordinate that with, or shortly thereafter, if we get rid of one of the other pieces of land that would fund the purchase of the place.
Well, the Willie Point land is going to sell in days, because we got buyers lined up for that piece. And
I think we already have sold some property that we got a decent price for, which may be consistent with what we'd be paying for this. So in effect, it would almost be swapping the piece that we already got the money for something that we put in the bank to hold for an opportunity like this. I still like the idea, and I want to make sure we pursue the other opportunities. But I think we can feel comfortable saying we've already found the funding for this from a previous project, and the timing's great.
So motion's made, second by Bob. All in favor?
Can I just ask a question?
yes, go.
Is there going to be any problem with crossing an active track to get to the
There's
second
already a
property?
crossing in there, and Dan and I were discussing that earlier. If you own property on both sides of the track, the railroad has to allow you to cross it.
Okay, I just wasn't sure,
Yeah.
because that's a great piece of property.
It is
You take the
beautiful.
dogs up there all the time.
My fear is if we don't buy it, there is a buyer interested, but they
Well, there
want,
have been in the past, too.
yeah,
And
but
were
they
gonna
want
put a
it
trailer
for
park in there.
marijuana sales or growing, and we don't want that over there personally, I don't think, and so.
Kelly could sneak over and get a little one.
Take her dogs for a walk.
I go over there now. I mean, that's where I walk my dogs and I snowshoe and I cross-country ski. It's a beautiful piece of property.
It is beautiful.
John?
You see the other tracks, that the western track's been taken out, the one that went up through the...
Yeah, the one across is the 10 Lots Road.
That's been removed,
Those tracks have been removed.
and this property borders the school property,
Borders it, yeah.
so if you run into track issues, there'd be other options
Yeah.
to get to it.
Nate?
Yeah, just to make a point too, I know a couple of years ago, there was a lot of discussion in town about having a spot where people with snowmobiles could actually meet up and get onto that track once it turned into the trail. And it was up where the school buses were parked, but obviously that's all being developed now, so that's not an option.
This is going to be,
I think it'd be a perfect.
it's going to be a permanent home for Oak Fest too, which that's exciting to me because, you know, we're talking about out at Pleasant Point Park, but parking is a huge issue out there and we're trying to work our way through that and this wouldn't be an issue. I mean, we got a lot going on with that.
Bob?
Who owns the pet cemetery?
That's a bit of a problem. I mean, Alan owns that, and we talked about that today, and what he's going to do with that, there's 4 little markers that border that. You might have seen it when you drove up in there. They can shrink those markers down because the pets that they actually have buried in there take up less space for that. But he's going to go and have that surveyed. That little chunk is going to be taken out of the property, and they're going to put a white picket fence around it, so it shouldn't be a
So
problem.
he's going to continue to own?
He's going to continue to own it because he's
Okay.
got contracts.
I don't think we need to own.
No, we don't want to. No, he's got something about, you know, it's in perpetuity. You know, the people have got their, you know, they're going to be able to have their brother. And there's 20 pets buried over there.
There's what?
20 pets, 20. And they're all local people.
Anything else?
That's all I got.
We'll run the table. David, did you have anything tonight?
I am all set, sir.
Bob, did you have anything tonight?
No.
Go on.
I've got a couple of handouts. One is interesting, just for the facts that shows. The other is, I assume, Gary, you've gotten a copy of the letter from the Dam Association, Dam Committee.
You mean as far as the amount going down? Yes, I did get that.
So I'll pass these around and then highlight a couple of things on them. Oh, sorry. And there should be enough, I think, for you folks to look at as well.
Keep going.
On the
Yes.
Dam Committee one, does everybody have that one?
Did you have enough for him?
Could be.
There's another pile here, Mike.
Yeah. I saw that.
Another pile right there.
I'll do the one of interest first. It's something that the dam committee had passed out because one of our major tasks is to control the water flow out of each of the lakes. And there's a lot of reasons why the water has to be at different levels. And our biggest problem, obviously, is the weather. So what this chart shows you, it's a prediction of what the temperature and precipitation is going to be for the next year. And when you look on the far right-hand column, you've got all those plus and minuses. That's the change in precipitation from normal. So in February, the precipitation is supposed to be up by 36%. Next month it's up by 21%. And then for the next 7, 8, 9 months, it's down by an average of about 25%. So when the rainfall and the snow is low, that makes it harder to control the level of the lakes. And that's a very negative thing because we have to let water flow out of each lake, yet at the same time we've got to keep the lakes at certain levels so the shores don't erode, so that the wildlife that lives there can continue to survive. So every time there's a drought-like conditions, it's not just the dam committee that has to work with it, but all the people in all the communities that are on the lakes suffer to different extents. Whether it's the water level goes so low that water lines freeze in the winter, or whether it's because people can't get their boats out because the water's too shallow, or the fish don't have a chance to move between lakes. There's a whole array of things. So this just sort of gives you one of the predictions that we're now looking at as we start to plan. And for you folks, you can sort of predict to everybody how much rain we're going to have.
No.
The other,
Now, I didn't have time to read it all yet. The Wings Mill Dam, they are going to continue to work on that.
which one, the letter? Are you on the letter now? Yeah. Let me, the letter just shows we now have the additional communities of Mount Vernon and Sydney, which has helped Oakland, Belgrade, Rome with lower assessments. And you'll see that the assessments that are listed on here, Oakland's, put my glasses back on for reading here, $5,889.24. That's one of the ones that we decided to give the full amount last year as we had more money than we expected, as we had cut certain things back. But they're in good shape. We paid off the first amount of work on the Wings Mill. There is still more work to be done, but they agreed to split it into 2 portions. So the first piece has been finished. They'll have to go back this next spring to complete the job. But they were able to reduce the amount of funding requested and still cover what they're going to have to pay for that one. There's a couple of things on the McGraw Salmon Lake that have to be looked at. McGraw salmon is probably the hardest one to handle because there's no tributaries coming into it. The only water that flows into the lake is what comes out of the hills that surround it and the springs that are in it. All the other lakes get water from the other lakes. So that particular lake has the biggest issue with water flow because the water still has to maintain at a certain level. There's also an issue about the dam and trying to get water either around the dam or through the dam to make the streams adequate for the wildlife that's in those. So there are a couple projects there that are being looked at, but the major one is the Wings Mill, which hopefully should be completed at the end of this next year.
So Don, just by, I think, all the negative numbers, you're saying there's going to be a dry summer?
Yes. Roughly 25% lower than normal. I don't know where they get these figures from. I assume it's, the wildfire predictors. Those people who look at this because wildfires are caused by droughts. So they predict what they think is going to happen, and they do every city and every state.
I feel good that they're not predicting any snow from May till September. That makes me feel good.
You notice that? And that's why I said this is more of interest, you know, you look at it, you can all come up with all sorts of different things. If you compare it with the Farmer's Almanac.
I wonder how
Dan,
they
do you have
track,
anything?
I wonder how they
No, I'm all
track
set,
record.
thank you.
David, does Kelly, do you have anything for the night? John? Nate, what do you do that now?
Also,
I don't have anything, David.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Good night, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So,
That dam on Salmon, Monroe, that used to have some leaking problems around.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. There are some good water.
That's what we would like
But
to
if
do.
this is the same sort of news,
A what?
6 o'clock.
road news.
And actually have a